ABC Construction Company was engaged by XYZ Group Incorporated to build an 8-story building with a height of 34.4 meters, located behind the intended new airport in Bulacan. A month later, Ordinance Number 12345 was passed by the Sangguniang Panlalawigan of Bulacan, setting the height limit on the buildings to be constructed along the new airport to 5 stories, or a maximum height of 21.5 meters. After building 5 stories, ABC Construction Company served a notice on XYZ Group Incorporated that it can no longer build the 6th, 7th, and 8th floors of the building in view of Ordinance Number 12345. XYZ Group Incorporated consequently assailed Ordinance Number 12345 for allegedly violating the non-impairment clause of the Constitution. Will the case prosper? Reasons. The XYZ Church was a relatively new religious group with fast-growing membership. On January 22, 2025, ABC News published an investigative report, revealing that the leader of XYZ Church, Father Z, was actually the head of an underground syndicate and a notorious swindler who was convicted of fraud charges in the United States of America. The published report caused great agitation to XYZ Church followers who threatened to harm ABC News, destroyed its properties, and mauled the vendors who were selling copies of its newspaper containing the report. Reacting to this spate of violence, Secretary of Justice X, on national television, prohibited ABC News and other newspapers from republishing the questioned report, or they shall face charges in court. ABC News assailed the prohibition, claiming that the same constitutes prior restraint against speech. Is the challenge correct? Reasons. The Congress submitted to the President, for his signature, the enrolled bill seeking to decriminalize adultery and concubinage. Immediately thereafter, members of the XYZ party list filed a petition for certiorari to nullify the enrolled bill for allegedly violating the Due Process Clause, since the same was passed by the Congress without the benefit of a public hearing. The Office of the Solicitor General, OSG, moved to dismiss the petition on the ground that there is yet no actual case to speak of. Is the OSG correct? Reasons. In 2022, A started an investment company while he was in France, during which he allegedly embezzled funds amounting to 25 million euros before absconding and returning to the Philippines in 2023, where he again was said to have acquired, through fraud, 13 million pesos from various investors. As a result, criminal proceedings in France were instituted against A in 2024. No similar criminal proceedings, though, were instituted in the Philippines to legally try A for his crime. The French government sought the extradition of A to France, arguing that the Philippines had an obligation to either extradite or prosecute A. France argued that since the Philippines has not yet prosecuted A, it now has an obligation to extradite under international law despite the absence of an extradition treaty between France and the Philippines. Is France correct? Reasons. In 2014, A and B, both Filipino citizens, met at the XYZ hospital in Taguig City, where they both worked as nurses. After dating for a year, they got married. Eventually, A flew to the United States of America, USA, to work in a hospital in New York City. On the other hand, B continued working at the XYZ hospital until he also got hired as a nurse in the same hospital where A was working in New York City. During A and B's stay in the USA, A got naturalized as an American citizen and later on gave birth to their child, Baby C, in 2024. Is Baby C a Filipino citizen? Reasons. On April 24, 2025, the Treaty of Copenhagen, an international agreement among various states fortifying their commitment to address climate change, was signed by the Secretary of Foreign Affairs as the duly authorized signatory of the Philippines. Thereafter, the treaty was transmitted to the President for ratification. After reviewing the terms of the treaty, the President decided not to ratify the same. Consequently, X, a passionate environmentalist, filed a petition for mandamus to compel the President to ratify and transmit the signed copy of the Treaty of Copenhagen to the Senate for its concurrence. Will the petition prosper? Reasons. Given the increasing number of foreigners residing in ABC City, its Sangguniang Panlungsod issued Ordinance Number 0628, allowing foreigners who have resided for at least 5 years in the city to acquire ownership over parcels of land not exceeding 500 square meters. A concerned Filipino citizen residing in ABC City filed a petition for certiorari, challenging Ordinance Number 0628 for violating the constitutional prohibition against land ownership by foreigners. ABC City, on the other hand, argued that it was granted local autonomy within its jurisdiction and can therefore pass any ordinance it deems beneficial to its residents. Decide with reasons. President X signed into law Republic Act No. 1213, which set fixed rates for the just compensation of properties across various regions of the Philippines in order to expedite the resolution of expropriation cases and to prevent lengthy and costly litigation. One of the affected landowners, Y, challenged the constitutionality of Republic Act No. 1213, asserting that the determination of just compensation is not a legislative function. The Republic of the Philippines, represented by the Office of the Solicitor General (OSG), countered that since expropriation is an exercise of the power of eminent domain belonging to the legislature, just compensation may be fixed by law. Decide with reasons. The municipality of ABC passed Ordinance No. 1613, known as the Speed Limit Ordinance. It prescribed speed limits for all types of vehicles and penalties for violations thereof, such as a fine of 1,000 pesos for the first offense, 1,500 pesos for the second offense, and 2,000 pesos or 30-day imprisonment or both for the third offense. X, a resident of the municipality of ABC, assailed the constitutionality of Ordinance No. 1613 because it was not published in a newspaper of general circulation, hence, violative of the Due Process Clause. While the municipality of ABC admitted there was no publication, it asserted that since Ordinance No. 1613 was posted in 3 conspicuous places, the requirement of due process was deemed satisfied. Decide with reasons. President X constituted the National Independence Commission, NIC, an ad hoc body tasked with the preparation of the celebrations for the 127th Philippine Independence Day, and appointed Mr. Y as its chairperson. Subsequently, Mr. Y was charged with violation of Republic Act No. 3019, or the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, for alleged irregularities committed in his capacity as NIC chairperson. In his defense, Mr. Y claimed that he never received any compensation as NIC chairperson, thus, he could not be considered as a public officer. Is Mr. Y correct? Reasons. X, an independent candidate, filed her Certificate of Candidacy, COC, for Mayor of Butuan City for the 2025 national and local elections. Y also filed her COC for the same position. After the last day of filing COCs, X withdrew her COC for Mayor of Butuan City and opted to run for Vice Mayor instead. She was substituted by Z, who filed her COC for Mayor of Butuan City. Y challenged the substitution on the ground that since X is an independent candidate, she cannot be substituted. Is the challenge correct? Reasons. A was a writer for one of the largest online shopping platforms in the Philippines. She collected several parcels from XYZ retail store for delivery to the customers. She immediately noticed the unique smell emanating from the parcels, but chose to ignore the same. While she was driving, a stray dog suddenly crossed the road, prompting her to hit the brakes hard. As a result, one of the parcels fell and burst, revealing several grams of dried cannabis marijuana. A reported the incident to the nearby police station. Consequently, the owner of XYZ retail store, B, was charged with illegal sale of dangerous drugs. In his defense, B invoked his right against unreasonable search and seizure, which A allegedly violated when the latter mishandled the parcel. Is B correct? Reasons. During the campaign period for the 2025 national and local elections, political unrest in the province of XYZ led to a shootout between private armies in front of the provincial capital. 30 people, including innocent bystanders, were among the casualties. In response, President Z declared a state of emergency in the province of XYZ and issued a directive for the Armed Forces of the Philippines, AFP, and the Philippine National Police, PNP, to prevent and suppress all incidents of lawless violence in the said province. Governor X questioned President Z's directive for alleged lack of proper authority from the Congress. Is the challenge meritorious? Reasons. Taking notice of the popularity, both here and abroad, of the unique perfume called Scent of Silay, produced by XYZ Fragrance Company located in Silay City, Negros Occidental, the Sangguniang Panlungsod of Silay City passed Ordinance No. 12345, imposing a tax equivalent to 1% per export sale on all productions of Scent of Silay by XYZ Fragrance Company. XYZ Fragrance Company assailed Ordinance #12345 on the ground that the same violated its right to equal protection of laws, as it was singled out therein. Decide with reasons. A owned 3 condominium units located near Camp Aguinaldo along EDSA. In 2020, A leased the 3 condominium units to the government for the use of its military officials X, Y, and Z as their offices for a period of 3 years. In 2024, A sued X, Y, and Z to recover possession of the condominium units because their respective leases had expired and they refused to vacate the premises despite demands. A also prayed for payment of rent in arrears. X, Y, and Z moved to dismiss the case for lack of jurisdiction on the ground of state immunity from suit. A countered that the lease contracts were commercial contracts, not falling within the doctrine of state immunity from suit. Is A correct? Reasons. The President appointed A as chairperson and B, C, D, and E as commissioners of the Commission on Human Rights. Their appointments stated that they may qualify and enter upon the performance of the duties of their respective offices. Later on, a petition for certiorarian prohibition was filed, questioning the permanent appointments of A, B, C, D, and E for lack of confirmation by the Commission on Appointments. Is the challenge correct? Reasons. Before commencing the proceedings in her court for the day, Judge A would require all the litigants and the lawyers in the courtroom to recite a prayer which she herself composed, otherwise they will be cited in contempt. B, an atheist, believes that this court policy is a violation of the non-establishment clause in the Constitution. Is B correct? Reasons. A popular actress, was accused of estafa. She filed a motion for news reporters to cover her trial on live television. Judge B denied the motion. A sought reconsideration, arguing that the denial of her motion violated the right of the public to information on matters of public concern and her right to public trial. Judge B still did not reconsider. He explained that public trial does not mean publicized trial. Decide with reasons. On December 11, 2023, the Senate and the House of Representatives approved the Absolute Divorce Bill and transmitted the same to the Office of the President for signature. On December 20, 2023, President X vetoed the bill, citing a recent national survey which showed that majority of Filipinos do not support absolute divorce for being contrary to the teachings of the Catholic Church. Representative Y, the author of the Absolute Divorce Bill, assailed the constitutionality of the veto for allegedly violating the principle of separation of powers, as the president was deemed to have imposed his will on the legislature. Is Representative Y correct? Reasons. Pursuant to its power under Article 8, Section 5, Paragraph 5 of the Constitution, the Supreme Court launched its Strategic Plan for Judicial Innovations 2022 to 2027, SBJI. What are the 4 guiding principles and 3 target outcomes of the SBJI?